Bold journalism.
But Drew Hernandez is a strong-minded individual.
Exposing lawlessness.
Drew Hernandez, who is ideological.
Finding the truth.
And use the word Antifa.
This is what they do.
Battling
They're
mainstream
liars. The woke mob, all they can do is lie.
These are the front lines.
How's it going, America? Thought criminals, everybody out there. Drew Hernandez. I am here on the southern border yet again, but this time I'm not in Eagle Pass, Texas. I am here in my own backyard, here in Yuma, Arizona, where the border is absolutely open. Right when we got here, we saw some activity already taking place where the Border Patrol was activating, trying to deter some of the illegals that were trying to walk straight across into the southern border here, right into the United States of America. I'm also here with Jorge Ventura. He's uploading some footage, doing his thing right now. He will be back at the end of this show, but we already were hitting the ground hard, hitting it fast right when we got here. Here's the first clip earlier where we took a little trip behind the so-called southern border here in the United States of America. We know that it's an open border policy. There is no southern border, so you could actually walk, literally walk across where there's supposed to be a border wall, and there are ruins. I know we've reported this on before, and other reporters have reported on this, especially during 2021 when this current administration put a halt to the border wall that was being built here in Yuma, Arizona. It's still there. The ruins are even worse. It is shocking to see that has been sitting there for going on the past year and a half, almost 2 years. Take a look. Guys, Drew Hernandez here at the southern border here in Yuma, Arizona. I am here with Jorge Ventura with the Daily Caller. We are covering for the next 2 days here at the southern border what's continuing to happen. But right now, right behind me, if you guys can see, this is unfinished border wall, obviously. This has been sitting here for a very long time. This is millions of dollars of taxpayer money. All of this border wall right behind me that you guys see is paid for. I mean, this should be up, but obviously we have an administration right now that wants an open border, that has open border policy, and they want to continue this so people could just flood in the United States of America literally by the millions. And this is part of the reason why, Jorge, and you've been seeing this not only here in Arizona but in Texas as well. We see this reoccurring theme where we see unfinished border sections across our southern border. Have you seen this outside of Arizona?
This has been throughout the southern border, especially in Texas, and this is what makes the locals here frustrated and Americans, is that this has already been spent for, taxpayer paid for, the job should be done, but as soon as the Biden administration came in, they halted the construction, and it's been sitting here, and they even have dates on them, which is very interesting.
Well, let's go check it out. I want to show you guys how long this has been sitting here, because obviously the Trump administration wanted to secure the border. It was in progress. A lot of this that has been put up is Trump-era border wall. And a lot of this stuff has been staged, and the Trump administration was not allowed to complete it. Take a look at, there's tons of spider webs. This has been sitting here for a very long time. You take everywhere you look, you see all of it. You could tell that it's been aging. And like you said, Jorge, here are some dates right here. If you take a look at right here, Anthony. May, that's of 20, May 14th, May 18th. 2020, again, there's another one. Looks like this batch was staged here in May of 2020. It was going to be completed, but obviously it wasn't. And there's some more. If you just take a look at all of it, again, there it is, May on the 12th. This has been sitting here for a long time. I mean, it's just ridiculous, Jorge. I mean, like you said, you've talked to people, some of the locals in Texas as well, when they see this open border, and it affects their lives. It affects their livelihood. Some people have like literal businesses on the southern border, and the cartels are taking advantage of that. They're having to deal with this on a daily basis. What are some of the things that you've seen that have negatively impacted people because of stuff like this, like unfinished border wall here at the southern border?
So an issue that the border towns face here is the constant high-speed chases with drug smugglers. So that's a common thing in these border towns. High-speed chases, chasing human smugglers. A lot of the human smugglers are actually American teenagers that are getting recruited by the cartel through TikTok. So that's what they experience here. And also the fentanyl. They see it here first before it branches out. So you might not be living next to the border. You're still a border town. I mean, the state that's most impacted right now by fentanyl is Ohio. Well, these communities here see it here before it reaches the Ohio's and Chicago's and things like that. So it's completely frustrating, especially for the locals because they see it firsthand. But it is having a negative effect. We're seeing right now, Drew, with Democrat voters. So in 2016, all of South Texas went Hillary Clinton. I mean, fast forward 2020, just off the issue of the border wall, all those counties swung to the GOP. So if the Democrats continue these policies, they're going to continue to swing these voters to the GOP.
Let's show the taxpayers their money at work. Okay, so we're going to show you how open this really is. Because right now we're in this kind of staging area where the United States staged all this equipment that was supposed to go up, Trump-era policies, but the current administration came in and put a halt to all of this. Over there is Mexico, down here in Mexico. So this is how close everything is. But here, take a look at over here how open this is. This is the unfinished wall. You can see it right here. That's obviously unfinished. But this huge section over here to the left, which we're going to show you guys right now, is just completely open. And these are part of the routes that the cartels use, like Jorge was saying, to just send people straight into the United States, send drugs, send whatever they want, prostituted children, prostituted women. This is how they use this stuff because it's an open door. Your southern border is literally an open door. Here are some more dates over here as well, Jorge. What are these? Here.
Look at that. We got May 14, 2020, another May 13, 2020. So they've been sitting here for over 2 years. It's one thing to halt construction for the Biden administration, but it's another thing to halt it when everything has already been paid for. So these contractors right now are literally getting paid to just sit on the couch and not even, they don't have to build this. They're not being forced to as well. And I mean, this is just, it's pretty frustrating to look at considering the issue of national security, all the drugs, and also the human trafficking into the United States. I mean, no other country would allow this.
But $40 billion to Ukraine because we could secure Ukraine's border because, you know, the Ukrainians matter, but you don't, America, you know, so we just have an open border, flood the United States of America with tons of fentanyl and drugs and prostituted children and women, but, you know, we're not going to take care of our people. We got to take care of the Ukrainians because they matter more than Americans. Well, let me just show you how open this is. If we continue over here, this is literally where your wall that you paid for is supposed to be finished. So here's an open section. I don't know, Anthony, if you could maybe get... This whole area right here is open. This whole area right here is completely open, especially right here as well and down in the corner. But this is the southern border, and this is how people are coming into your country on a daily basis.
This looks ridiculous. I mean, this is not stopping no one. You just have to... You can just walk right by. Welcome to America. And
I mean, you really think about it, right? You think about your own private home, your own private security, like Nancy Pelosi. All these people have like fences around their houses. They have security. The Capitol has security around it. Sometimes they'll put fences around it whenever the politicians, you know, need a wall or a fence to protect them. But our own country cannot have its own wall or legitimate fence because they say that it's racist, and we're not allowed to have that because, you know, we don't want to offend the foreigners or offend anybody else. But the ones who get affected the most are obviously the people, the migrants, those that are traveling illegally. They put their lives on the line, but also this is affecting Americans in so many ways. I mean, the cartels are making millions of dollars a day. They're pumping fentanyl into the United States of America. It's insane. You see the fentanyl crisis. You want to know how this is happening? It comes from Mexico through your back door that is wide open. That's the reality of what's happening down here. That's the back door is wide open. Tons of drugs, child exploitation, human trafficking, human smuggling, a wide open border. Whenever you hear the far left say, oh, we don't have open borders in the United States of America, they're lying. You come down here, that's exactly what you see. That's exactly what you experience. And your taxpayer money, bought and paid for, that border wall is just laying in the middle of the desert, just rotting as this administration continues to screw you and tell you Ukraine means more. Okay, anyways, well, further during the day, Jorge and I continue to hit the ground a little harder, and we saw in the distance this helicopter come out of nowhere. And we've seen this many times where the Border Patrol agents themselves, they will alert the helicopters to come in and try and detour some of the migrants or illegals that are trying to come into the United States of America illegally. Even our team saw some suspicious individuals in black that were walking along the southern border. But then this helicopter came out of nowhere. We saw the boats, the Border Patrol agent boats, fly past us. We saw some of their squad vehicles and their trucks fly right past us. It was a pretty interesting situation. And I, in my own experience, have never seen this before, but there was literally an illegal walking in the United States of America, already crossed the southern border illegally, just looking up at the helicopter, not even phased at all, just continuing to walk into the United States scot-free. Take a look at this for yourself. Right behind me, it looks like Border Patrol. Here on the river, the boats were flying back and forth. They were posted up right here behind the bushes, and this helicopter just came immediately and was attempting to deter. Sometimes they do this at the southern border. They're attempting to deter illegals from coming in, but this is already the United States right here. And we did get some footage of the illegals literally walking on top of this road right here before me, with the helicopter overhead, just kind of looking up at it and still walking straight into the United States. There's more Border Patrol agents right there. So it does look like they're probably going to make an apprehension right now, but I've never seen that, Jorge. I mean, I've never, sometimes I've seen them in Texas fly low like this, but I've never seen the migrants or the illegals just like look up at them, wave, and just keep walking into the United States as if nothing's wrong. They seem pretty emboldened.
Well, also, another thing to pay attention to is if this was just a regular family unit that's turning themselves in, they wouldn't send in the helicopter. So there's a situation happening with these individuals. They could be actually drug smugglers. Yeah. And I mean, look, they got the helicopter here flying low. We got a truck here, Drew.
Well, there we go. Let's go a little further down. This we did see we saw two individuals in black that were coming over illegally, and then we saw like 3 other men over on this road where you see that Border Patrol agent truck right there. So, like Jorge said, that's true that they won't bring this much attention to a family or what appears to be a family unit. So this does seem to be a little more of a serious situation. But like I said, dude, I've never seen. There's a Border Patrol. Okay, so here's what's happening. You see this van right here? They're probably going to use this van to transport whoever it is that they're about to apprehend. I don't know, Jorge. That's kind of what I've seen in my experience. It like this van. That's what that's for.
Yeah, they're going to probably put them on the boat here after they get apprehended. But this is a situation. This is an interesting situation because we don't see this much attention. This is just on 2 individuals right now in the all black. So they could be drug smugglers. We'll see if Border Patrol. But they've been.
There could be a family hidden. So I don't know. It's just a lot of attention.
And they've been working this for about the last 20 minutes. So these guys are probably in the brushes, and I'm expecting that the Border Patrol agent that drove in the truck is back up, and that he's probably in these brushes now. But yeah, let's see what happens here.
We'll see what happens. Southern border, I mean, we did further take a look at what was happening with that situation, and I mean, the Border Patrol does do their job pretty well. They do deter these people. I don't know if we have that clip, if you guys want to play it right now, but the way that it ended is, I mean, they do their job and they deter them. Take a look. So we did see a ton of activity here right now. They weren't just some family unit. We did see a lot of males in black, multiple males just coming into the United States. Like I said, that's when that helicopter is making its way down the southern border. So the activity seems to have moved further that way, not this way. So maybe the Border Patrol was successful in pushing away the illegals that were trying to come over. But I have never seen that before. I've never seen an illegal walking into the United States of America as a United States helicopter flies right over them to deter them and just continue to look up at them and just keep walking into the United States. That's a first for me. So you might be wondering, what is this dumpster right behind me? This is what they dump the illegals when they cross, and I'm not going to show you yet. When we come back, I'm going to show you just exactly what this looks like down here. There are tons of backpacks and clothes filled with all kinds of stuff and passports, and Jorge Ventura is going to join me and break all of this down, so do not leave. Stay with us.
Yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
Abortion, I salute you! Women, if you need an abortion, get one!
You said police defund!
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on to the next generation. Activate freedom. Join Patriot Mobile.
All right, guys, you have signed up, right? You've joined freedomsquare.com. If you haven't, why not? This should have happened a decade ago. How did somebody not think of this earlier? If you're a business owner, we have a business directory to promote your business to patriots across the nation. So if you want to buy American, if you want to sell American, we have a business directory. Whatever it is, go now.
Join us in the fight for freedom. Welcome to Freedom Square.
What's going on, guys? Drew Hernandez. I am back. It is over 100 degrees here at the Arizona southern border. Drew Hernandez, host of Frontlines. I'm Ventura of the Daily Caller. We've been covering it down here. Right now, we're on a different section of the southern border. I want you guys. We're going to both show you this stuff. So when they come over illegally, if you actually let's take a look at the process over here. Look, Anthony. So this is one of the sections that's completely open. And right now it's a little slow because the heat is insane right now. But they'll come right through here. That is an open border right there. They'll have a huge line across this southern border. They'll get processed like you've seen in Texas as well. And Jorge, let's take a look at this, bro. This is just a fraction of the stuff that these people are making their journey from Honduras or Cuba, Latin American countries where they're making such a dangerous journey. If you take a look at this stuff, I mean, there's tons of clothes, backpacks, dumpster bags. You go through these backpacks, we're finding all kinds of identification paperwork, and we'll explain how that works as well. But here's one of the backpacks that has tons of in it. Not sure exactly what this stuff is, but this is what these people are bringing over. All kinds of pills. I have no idea. We have no idea what this is, what kind of drugs these are. But this is what's being brought into the United States of America. This is just one backpack out of many. I mean, is this something you've seen before, Jorge, in Texas as well? I mean, this is nothing new, but, I mean, we continue to see this happen day in and day out.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything like this where it's like all this in one backpack concentrated. This is very interesting. What's also kind of at least different, and you've been to them, Drew, not every location is going to have these trash cans. So in multiple areas of the border, it's a huge environmental damage because all here in Yuma, local police and border patrol here work together, but you know resources are always spread thin. I mean, even here when we're covering, I mean, it's one border patrol agent for another few miles, so it's just really spread out.
And this is what we've been seeing. We've been seeing passports. Here's a passport from Cuba as well. There's all kinds of debit cards that are from different COVID vaccine. So we did talk to some Border Patrol agents. If we want to see action, we should come at midnight and come at 5 in the morning. So we're going to get all kinds of footage from tonight and tomorrow morning. So do not miss tomorrow's show. Our signal is a little weak right now, but we will get some crazy footage, and we will be airing it tomorrow on the show. We'll see you guys tomorrow. This is the Front Lines, and my name is Drew Hernandez.
You have to ask the question, how is the most heavily funded tribe have the poorest population?
Listen to me. My country is very because everything problem here. Don't have petroleum for bus and Cuban, for car, for life, for nothing.
And it sucks. Socialism sucks. There's no other way you can describe it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily, powered by Turning Point USA. Today is June 9th, 2022, and Domine. Today's headlines: a domestic terrorist arrested outside Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's home. Next, a sweeping gun reform bill passes in the House, but is it constitutional? Third, Chesa Boudin. We got a victory lap, folks. We got a victory lap. Chesa Boudin recalled out. O-U-T. Get out of here. Send him home. Recalled as San Francisco district attorney. And finally, a top CCP official is urging the party to seize a Taiwanese semiconductor plant if the U.S. elevates sanctions on China. All this and more ahead. Human Events Daily.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
So we've been talking lately about violence in America, specifically politically motivated violence. And we have another incident, or almost had another incident, a horrific potential incident yesterday outside the home of the Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. What happened? An armed domestic terrorist was arrested by local police, believe it or not by U.S. Marshals, by local police, who was then overturned to the FBI after he called himself in. This is something, by the way, a lot of people are talking about this. A lot of people are focused on the story, but I think it's very interesting that the individual himself decided to chicken out at the last minute, got cold feet, said, okay, I'm not going to do it. And we're glad that he did, obviously, but he called himself in. The U.S. Marshals, for some reason, didn't think to go to this guy, and let's break it down. Okay, black-clad individual, 26-year-old male, walking around with a briefcase, we're told, an actual briefcase, not like a suitcase or, like a backpack. No, a briefcase that he's walking around with right outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house. You'd think, I don't know, if that guy's walking around, maybe you go up and tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, what's going on, buddy? I know I got detained recently by police and frisked at the World Economic Forum in Davos for standing and doing my job as a reporter up there. But apparently they didn't have an issue with this guy walking around like that when they know that because of the leaked decision on Roe v. Wade and the fact that Brett Kavanaugh is supporting it, they are going after this guy. And you've seen left-wing group after left-wing group target not only the individuals, but their specific homes. They're the ones who cross. It's completely illegal, by the way. It's illegal under federal law everywhere in the United States, all 50 states, to intimidate a judge before a decision is made. That's old school, right? That has been a law in the United States for something like 100 years, all right? This is an old law, federal law. But for some reason, we don't enforce our laws anymore. We wait for crimes to happen, and then we get upset about the crime that happened, and then we want to punish people that weren't involved in the crime for some reason, rather than actually just try to do something about crime in the first instance. I know, weird. It's kind of strange that we would try to set up our society this way, but you clearly have a mentally ill individual here, realized at one point that he was at the depths of despair, decides to call himself in, calls off the thing at the last minute. Who knows, right? Who knows what would have happened if he had waited there the same. And I have to say, in my mind, it reminds me of the killing of John Lennon, where Mark David Chapman, another crazy guy, I believe he was also in his 20s when he did this, waited outside the home of John Lennon all day and then shot him in the back 8 times. So what do we have here? This individual, Nicholas John Roski, from California, 26 years old, said he is looking for purpose in his life, told police officers that he was mad about the Roe v. Wade decision that is impending, and that he was upset about the Second Amendment as well. I think a lot of people, I've noticed, so much of the media coverage is leaving out the fact that this was also motivated by his feelings on the Second Amendment. What did he bring? A Glock 17 pistol, a tactical knife, a black tactical chest rig. This is according to the police affidavit out of FBI. 2 magazines, ammunition, pepper spray, zip ties, a hammer, screwdriver, nail punch, crowbar, pistol light, duct tape, hiking boots, and other items. Does this sound like a kidnapping to you? Does this actually sound like, and this, look, I'm just reading the list of things that this guy had on him in the suitcase, in the backpack. To me, this sounds like it was an attempted kidnapping as well, that it looked like he was planning on something far worse than just going in and killing him, that he actually wanted to bring those zip ties for a reason. And we know that activists, radical activists, and we've been talking about this Jane's Revenge group that's out there, they're targeting people's homes. They're targeting people's families. They've targeted Kavanaugh's wife. They're talking about his children. Understand what point in the movie we're in. It's time to get serious about this stuff. You got crazy people running around on the street. They're all drugged up. You got police that don't want to do anything about it, or they can't do anything about it because they're worried about the DAs coming down on them for doing their jobs. Turn them into the next Derek Chauvin, right? That's the situation we live in society today. And you got people on CNN will try to make accommodations for it.
On this vote, the yeas are 223, the nays are 204. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
Well, apparently Matthew McConaughey's tactics, his operation, was a complete success, because we're seeing now, just last night, what's being hailed as a sweeping gun reform bill passed in the House, protecting our kids. Who could be against that? Who could be against protecting? If you vote against protecting the children, then obviously there's something wrong with you, Buster Brown. You've got an issue with protecting kids, huh? 228 to 199, with 10 Republicans voting alongside Democrats to strip you of your civil rights to self-defense. Oh, wait, excuse me. I thought it was protecting the kids. Why are you saying it's about stripping rights? Well, here's how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. Here's how rights work. Let's go back to John Locke, right? I talked about this the other day. You have the right to self-defense. It is an inherent right given to you by God because it is the positive expression of the right to life. If you believe life has value and that life should always be protected, that means you have a right to, I have a right to life. You have a right to life. I think everyone has a right to life. I actually do believe in this. And so the right of self-defense actually grows out of the right to life in our law. The idea being that if life is valuable, then you have to actually express this value, and you express it in the positive self-defense of that life. This is where you get Kyle Rittenhouse, right? Remember, Kyle Rittenhouse had a mob of people trying to kill him. He was on 10 different video angles, including one that we broke here on Human Events Daily, of an FBI airplane. The federal government, federal law enforcement knew that Kyle Rittenhouse was being chased by a murderous mob that wanted to put him 6 feet under. And that's just a fact. And he was able to defend himself at 17 years old because he had an AR-15 platform with him that had been given to him. He'd borrowed it from a friend. They tried to go after him for a year. He had to spend over $1 million. His name was dragged through the mud. He still can't get into college. He's trying to apply to different places. They won't let him in, or they will, but then they lie about it. His friend, they tried to go after him as well. And so when you have a situation like that, when it is self-defense, they say, oh, it's all about the individual. But then you have these other situations, like these horrific crimes, right, that took place in Buffalo, in Uvalde, and Tulsa, by the way. We don't talk about Tulsa anymore, or the Philadelphia South Street shooting, right? For some reason, we don't talk about certain mass shootings. We'll talk about other ones because it's about a political operation. You have people with a political agenda that want you to focus on certain things, but not other things. And so we're told it's not the criminal's problem, it's society's problem. And so this gun bill that was passed, what is it? It's increasing the age limit on the purchase of certain firearms, preventing gun trafficking, whatever that means, modernizing the prohibition on untraceable firearms, encouraging the safe storage of firearms, and for other purposes, including controversial red flag laws. They're supported by people like Dr. Oz. So here's the situation. The idea, and let's just take the main focus point that everybody's getting at, this idea that you have to be 21 years old to purchase one of these at the federal level. Here's the problem. A semi-automatic, and I've read the legislation. It doesn't say AR-15. It says semi-automatic center-fire rifle, right? As if that makes a difference. Here's the problem. Unconstitutional. It's been found unconstitutional because California just tried to do this a month ago. And guess what? The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals came down and said, guess what? It's unconstitutional. You literally do not have the ability to restrict this at the constitutional level. Why? Because the Constitution only provides age limits for two things: voting at 18 and then running for office, right? 25, 30, 35 for House, Senate, President. That's it. That's the only age limits that are permissible under the Constitution. So at the state level, you look at that and you say, well, hold on. How come a state can't do whatever they want at a state? Because it's simple. Because the Second Amendment guarantees that right. So let me get it straight, right? You could be 18, you could be sent off to die in Afghanistan, like the kids that Joe Biden sent off to die at the Afghanistan airport in Kabul. But he's going to say that those people, well, yeah, we'll send you off to die in the desert of some Middle Eastern wasteland. But when you come back home, you're not able to defend yourself and you can't go shooting with your friends because you're not the same age. How does that make any sense? It doesn't. This is a civil rights issue.
Voters said loud and clear that they want a district attorney who prioritizes public safety for every community. San Franciscans are engaged and well-informed. We know that we can have important criminal justice reforms and public safety for all, and that neither was being achieved under this district attorney.
District Attorney Chesa Boudin, San Francisco, is now the latest victim of the Biden economy. Apparently, he just lost his job. We know unemployment is having, this huge spike right now. And we're very sorry, Mr. Boudin, because, it looks like there aren't any jobs available for scumbags like you. Now, this is a guy 2 years ago when he was first coming out that I said, you need to watch out for this guy. He was raised by Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn as their adoptive son. His parents were left-wing terrorists in the Weather Underground. Yes, literal terrorists who actually killed a security guard at a bank. Then when they couldn't raise their son anymore, they gave him off to left-wing radicals like Bill Ayers, the guy who's the grandfather of Antifa and left-wing radical violence, and they raised him. Now, and they say, well, Poso, hold on. You can't hold a child against the sins of the father. You can't do that. Oh, of course not. Of course not. But that being said, you have to look at where someone comes from. You have to look at how they were raised. You have to look at what they do in their life to determine what kind of person they are. And we could see this. He was attempting to institute all of the insane, radical social destabilization programs that we saw across the country being pushed in the crazy 60s by the 60s crazies. He was doing that in San Francisco and people were dying. My wife and I were in San Francisco, 6-7 months ago? We couldn't even go out to dinner after 6 o'clock in Chinatown. Why? Because the Asian American restaurants, the whole neighborhood was shuttered. We couldn't go. We wanted to go in. We wanted to go to a Chinese restaurant, be able to practice speaking Mandarin. We were going to do, you only speak Chinese at the dinner table, go talk to someone who's a native speaker. No, couldn't do it. Couldn't happen. Why? Because the violence was at insane levels. And so 60-40, this guy's out. And he was one of these Soros org-backed DAs. We know there were 75 of these across the country. One down, 74 to go. And here's the problem, right? Here's the problem with these individuals. Because they have a problem with how they view society. They view it through a Marxist lens. And not to get too boomercon on you, but the Marxists view all of society as having two classes. There's an oppressor class and there's an oppressed class. And so the oppressor class, that's the one that needs to be brought down. And the oppressed class, that's the group of people that even if they break the letter of the law, you have to let them off, right? You have to let them go, right? That's how they view society. So for them, if a criminal commits violence, it's not the criminal's fault, it's society's fault for making him commit violence. You understand? Because they view that as an oppressed individual. This is Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's on the Supreme Court now, or who's going to be on the Supreme Court, I should say, at the end of the term. She has the exact same view of criminal justice, right? This is where you get her lenient sentences on child pornography. Here's the problem with that. We don't have a law problem in this country. I would go so far as to say, controversial as it may sound, we don't have a gun problem in this country. We have a people problem. We have a community problem. We do have a society problem. That's true. But it's not oppressors versus oppressed. It's a problem of our society being decayed, hollowed out, and falling apart, fraying at the seams. And so no law that's being passed in the House of Representatives or no DA that's letting people out of jail, violent criminals out of jail, that's not going to fix things. That's not going to fix communities. That's not going to fix. You have to do the work. You have to do the work of rebuilding the moral core of this country. And if you don't do that, if you're sending kids to drag queens and drag shows in Dallas and Texas, baseball stadiums in Milwaukee, which happened last night, you're not going to get the country back that has the same traditional moral core.
Is there a need for China to make due on some of its commitments in the Phase 1 agreement? Some business groups would like you to begin lifting up those tariffs on China.
Well, I know that, and that's why my trade rep is working on that right now. The answer is uncertain. It's uncertain. I'd like to be able to be in a position where I could say they're meeting the commitments or more of their commitments and be able to lift some of it. But we're not there yet.
So I know we've been talking a lot about domestic issues today, but I want to touch on this because this is a key geostrategical issue. And you have to understand what the CCP is up to. A top official of the CCP has ordered the party to seize a Taiwanese semiconductor plant if the U.S. ramps up sanctions. There's a policy proposal that was just made out of Bloomberg in a speech on U.S.-China relations in a research group overseen by the CCP's Economic Planning Agency. They're talking about the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. So understand what's going on here. Semiconductors are Taiwan's key strategic interest for the United States. They have essentially, I'm not going to say a monopoly on the market, but they are the key manufacturer of semiconductors in the entire country, or entire world. And now I wish they weren't. I wish that those semiconductors, by the way, were being made right here in the United States in places like Wisconsin or Arizona. They're building a prefab plant outside of Phoenix right now, or really just anywhere in the United States. I wish those jobs were here, but they're not. They're in Taiwan. And this firm specifically, TSMC, one of the largest semiconductor firms, they're out of Taiwan. They have facilities in the United States, and they have facilities in China. So understand what's going on here. The CCP will use this as a casus belli. They will use this as a pretext for war. They will say semiconductors are a key national security interest for the PLA, for the Chinese Army, the Red Army, that we are going to need this for our Navy. We're going to need this for expansion. And so they'll move to nationalize the company. And they'll say, we're nationalizing not just the one in Shanghai. No, they'll start there. But then they'll say, we're nationalizing the one on Taiwan. And they'll claim that they're able to do that because, remember, the CCP out of Beijing declares Taiwan not to be a separate nation, but to be a rogue province that's in rebellion with the mainland. Taiwan, on the other hand, considers themselves the Republic of China, the original government of China from the 1920s, which was a republic, a limited republic, a form of democracy, right? They were kicked out by the communists in 1949 and fled down in Taiwan. This has been the status quo since the 1950s. That then, they would say, okay, Taiwan, you need to turn over these semiconductor plants to us. And what do you think Taiwan's going to say? Of course, they'll say no. And in response, the CCP will begin military operations on Taiwan in this scenario. It's a perfect casus belli for them. It absolutely makes sense from their perspective. They would use the exact same strategy, the exact same playbook against the West that Putin's using right now. They would say, we've got the resources. We have this right here. Our Navy's right here. Our Air Force is right here. Taiwan's right next door to us. It's so far from you, from Okinawa, from Guam, from Yokosuka. Try us. And they will imply, and I talked about this on War Room last weekend when we did an entire Taiwan special on the anniversary of Tiananmen Square, because we're looking at what could come next. And I said it would be an embargo and a blockade, a naval blockade of the island of Taiwan, where they would starve them out the same way that they starved 100 million people during the Great Leap Forward, and the same way that they starved 29 million people in the city of Shanghai in the name of stopping COVID. Understand what's going on here. And that's all the time we have for Human Events Daily today. Remember, our promise, our oath, our solemn vow to you: be good, be brief, be gone. Our homework that we assign to you every day. I'm sorry that we have to assign homework. It's just, it's something I got to do it. I got Charlie Kirk text me. He said, Poso, did you assign them their homework? And I said, Charlie, I'm on top of it. Share this out with just one of your normie friends, and then give us your 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your politics. What did we talk about today? The domestic terrorist. Really should be the biggest story in the country. A domestic terrorist out of California was arrested just outside Brett Kavanaugh's home in Maryland. Next, a sweeping gun reform bill passes in the House, but most likely should be struck down. Chesa Boudin recalled as San Francisco DA. Turns out that you do actually have to prosecute people for crime. You can't, play these social experiments. And finally, the CCP talking about seizing a Taiwanese semiconductor plant if the U.S. elevates sanctions, a potential casus belli for war in Taiwan. We have a lot going on today, a lot going on this week. But folks, before we go, it's time for today's history break. Today, June 9th, all the way back, we're reaching back, folks, 1898. The British Empire signed a 99-year lease for Hong Kong, located on the southeastern coast of China. At the time, Hong Kong was a rock. There was nothing there. 400 square miles. It was administered as a British Crown colony all the way up into July 11th, 1997, when in a very foolish move, the British Empire returned the city, the beautiful, amazing city, prosperous city that they had built of Hong Kong, transferred it over to the CCP in the name of bringing China into the world stage. Folks, what can I say? Take down the CCP. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.